how does one of these strictest religions in the world focus on freedom? In the second chapter of the Quran, it says, there can be no compulsion in religion. The truth should be obvious. The Prophet, for example, his uncle, a guy that they were very close. His uncle respected him so much. He defended him from enemies. And on his deathbed, his uncle of the Prophet of God, would not accept Islam or the message. Can you imagine how the Prophet must have felt knowing that, like, when his uncle's taking the test and they're like, yeah, we sent the Prophet to go talk to you. Like, that's gotta hurt your soul and be so frustrating. But we can't force anybody. And with Islam, I was inspired to make this video because an ex-Muslim had commented on my video. He had left Islam because he was frustrated with some of the things that the Quran had prescribed and what it says about women. And I talk about some of these things in my very first video about the journey to Islam. And I was looking for contradictions in the Quran. I was looking for mistakes. And we talk about how perspective shapes our reality. Now, growing up as probably one of the last generations to get their ass whooped, discipline had a bad connotation in my head for the longest time. And it wasn't until I learned about becoming an athlete and working out that I had learned the positive connotation of discipline. Being able to self-regulate, to maintain, to achieve long-term goals. And isn't that what we want in this life? To have the discipline to be able to achieve long-term goals? And we know this life is the short life. And so, how do we have that discipline in life? Well, we need to have a structure. And the Quran is that structure. You'll find that everything the Quran prescribes you to do is going to be good for you. And everything that it tells you not to do, those things are bad for you. And you may say, oh no, but it tells me not to gamble and I won. Okay, sure. But I can promise you that for everything that you think you got something good out of, there was a negative thing to it. Maybe you gambled and it inspired the person that watched you gamble to go bet and they lost everything. And is that on you? No, not necessarily. But the negative rippling effects that our actions cause, you have no idea, and God does. And so Islam tries to prevent more than stop after the fact. And because God knows us best, that's why he had spread his message across over a couple decades. And so you'll find that every Muslim has the exact guide on how to live a successful life, but you'll find that none of us are perfect. That's because even with the guide, we're still making mistakes. But at least with that guide, you have an objective view on right and wrong. And you may not look at the Quran yet if you're not a Muslim. And, you know, for those of you who don't understand what Islam is simply submission to one God. Message of Adam, Abraham, Jesus, Moses, Solomon. There's one God. And there will be no others associated with his power. It would be, in the gaming sense, imagine a software developer created a universe. doesn't ever need to be a part of that universe. That is its own creation. Nothing in that universe will ever amount to the same level of knowledge or wisdom as him. Taking a shot at Christianity. Sorry, guys. A man cannot be 100% man and 100% God. The math is not mathing. I want to keep this video as short as I can and just remind you that this life is a game, this life is a test, and you can be upset and act like a angsty teenager who wants to rebel against the rules, but at the end of the day, it's like the things that God tells you not to do, it's not because he doesn't want you happy. He's telling you, hey, that stove is on right now. That fire is hot. If you go in that direction, you're going to get burnt. It's not because I want you to get burnt. It's if you go walk in that direction, you go touch that thing that is on fire, you're going to burn. And so believe in what I'm saying, and I'll save you from it. That's God's message. If you understand that test, this life, you're going to see some crazy, ridiculous things, and it's going to try to make you challenge, oh, is this really a test? And yeah, it is. The answer is yes. And so use that to self-regulate, to use the Quran, to go read it again. I'm going through my rereading, and go back to the fundamentals on what it's asking you to do throughout your day. And I promise you that if you do that, and 3 things every week, focus on a goal for your mind. What are we going to learn this week? A goal for your body. How are we going to challenge ourselves? How are we going to get uncomfortable physically? And a goal for your relationships. What are you going to do to nurture the relationships around you? I can promise you that within this next year, your life is going to change.